Imagine holding a simple quarter in your hand, the same kind of coin that people use every day to pay for small purchases, parking meters, or a quick snack from a vending machine. At first glance it may look completely ordinary, just another piece of pocket change that most people would spend without thinking twice. But what if that small silver-colored coin was actually worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars? It may sound surprising, yet this possibility exists in the fascinating world of coin collecting. Some coins become extremely valuable not because they were meant to be rare, but because something unusual happened during the minting process. Small mistakes, unusual metal compositions, or rare variations can turn a common coin into a hidden treasure. One coin that continues to spark curiosity among collectors is the 1965 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that marked a major turning point in American coin history and still holds the possibility of remarkable value today. The 1965 quarter belongs to the long-running Washington quarter series, which first appeared in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington. Before that year, American quarters featured the Standing Liberty design, but the United States government decided to replace it with a portrait of the nation's first president. Sculptor John Flanagan created the design that would become one of the most recognizable coin images in American history. On the front of the coin appeared a left-facing profile of George Washington, with the word Liberty placed above his head and the motto "In God We Trust" positioned to the left. The year of minting appeared at the bottom. For decades the Washington quarter was produced using 90% silver and 10% copper, giving the coin a distinctive metallic shine and a weight that collectors still recognize instantly. These silver quarters circulated widely throughout the United States for many years, becoming a common part of everyday commerce. People used them for bus fares, vending machines, laundromats, and countless other small transactions. Yet by the early 1960s the United States faced a serious problem involving its coinage system. The price of silver began rising dramatically during the early 1960s. As silver became more valuable on the open market, the metal inside American coins started to approach or even exceed the coin's face value. This created a strange economic situation. People began hoarding silver coins instead of spending them, believing the metal itself was worth more than the denomination stamped on the coin. As a result, silver coins started disappearing from circulation across the country. The shortage became so severe that businesses struggled to obtain enough coins for everyday transactions. Vending machines sat idle, banks ran short of change, and the public grew increasingly frustrated. The United States government realized that continuing to produce coins made primarily of silver would only make the problem worse. In response to the crisis, Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1965. This legislation fundamentally changed the composition of American coinage. Instead of being made primarily of silver, new quarters would be produced using a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. This combination created what is known as a clad coin. The new coins had a similar appearance to silver coins, but their intrinsic metal value was far lower. The year 1965 therefore marked the beginning of a new era in United States coinage. The 1965 Washington quarter became the first quarter ever issued without silver in its composition. Instead of 90% silver, the coin consisted of 75% copper and 25% nickel layered over a pure copper center. This change allowed the mint to produce coins more cheaply and prevented people from melting them down for metal value. Another interesting decision made during this transitional period involved mint marks. Normally United States coins include a small letter indicating the mint where they were produced. For example, coins from the Denver Mint carry a D while coins from the San Francisco Mint carry an S. However, in 1965 the government removed mint marks entirely from coins. Officials believed that collectors were hoarding coins from specific mints, which they thought contributed to the coin shortage. By removing mint marks they hoped to discourage collecting and encourage people to spend the coins instead. Because of this decision, all quarters dated 1965 appear without a mint mark even though they were actually produced at multiple mint facilities. This unusual circumstance adds another layer of historical interest to the coin. Although the 1965 quarter was produced in massive numbers, with hundreds of millions entering circulation, certain examples of the coin have become surprisingly valuable due to errors, unusual characteristics, and rare conditions. Many collectors carefully examine these coins hoping to find varieties that stand out from the ordinary. One of the most famous possibilities involves transitional silver errors. During the early months of 1965, the mint was still using leftover silver planchets from the previous year. In extremely rare cases, a 1965 quarter was accidentally struck on a silver planchet instead of the new copper nickel-clad blank. When this happened, the resulting coin looked similar to older silver quarters even though it carried the 1965 date. These rare transitional error coins are highly prized by collectors. Because so few exist, their value can be extraordinary. Some authenticated examples have sold for several $1,000s, and in exceptional condition they can reach even higher prices at auction. The discovery of one of these silver planchet errors is considered a major event in the coin collecting community. Another type of error that collectors search for involves doubled dies. A doubled die occurs during the creation of the coin die when the design is impressed multiple times at slightly different angles. The result is a die that produces coins with doubled images in certain areas. On a 1965 quarter, this doubling may appear in the lettering of Liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," or the numbers of the date. Doubled die coins can range widely in value depending on how visible the doubling is. Some minor examples may sell for modest premiums of $50 to $100, while stronger doubling can command much higher prices. Collectors often use magnifying tools to inspect their coins closely for signs of this effect. Off-center strikes represent another fascinating error type. These occur when the coin blank is not perfectly aligned within the coin press when it is struck. As a result, part of the design appears shifted toward the edge of the coin, leaving a blank curved area on the opposite side. Off-center quarters are visually dramatic and highly collectible. If the date remains visible on the coin, an off-center 1965 quarter can sell for hundreds of dollars. The greater the percentage of the design missing, the more striking the coin appears. However, collectors prefer examples where the date is still readable, since this confirms the year of issue. Broad strike errors also occur when the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking fails to engage properly. Without this collar, the metal spreads outward as the dies strike the planchet. The resulting coin appears larger and thinner than normal, with a flattened rim. Broad strike 1965 quarters are unusual and can bring strong premiums depending on their appearance. Another interesting category involves clipped planchet errors. Before coins are struck, large metal sheets are punched to create blank discs called planchets. If the punching machine overlaps the edge of the sheet, part of the planchet may be missing. When such a blank is struck by the coin press, the finished coin retains the missing curved section. These clipped coins often look as if a small bite has been taken from the edge. Collectors find them appealing because the error is easy to see with the naked eye. A well-defined clipped planchet 1965 quarter may be worth several $100s depending on size and condition. Die cracks represent another possibility. Over time, the steel dies used to strike coins develop tiny fractures from repeated pressure. When metal flows into these cracks during striking, it forms raised lines on the surface of the coin. Minor cracks are common and usually add little value, but dramatic cracks or large die breaks can attract serious collector interest. One particularly notable form of die break is known as a cud. This occurs when a piece of the die actually breaks away near the edge, leaving a raised irregular lump on the coin where metal filled the missing section of the die. Cud errors can make a coin stand out dramatically and may increase its value significantly. Collectors also pay attention to strike quality when evaluating a 1965 quarter. Because the transition to clad coinage involved new manufacturing processes, some early coins were not struck with perfect clarity. Weak details may appear on Washington's hair or the eagle feathers on the reverse side of the coin. The reverse design of the 1965 quarter features a powerful eagle with wings spread wide, clutching arrows in its talons. Beneath the eagle are two olive branches representing peace. The words United States of America curve along the top edge while the denomination quarter dollar appears at the bottom. Above the eagle is the national motto E Pluribus Unum. Although this design remained consistent for decades, subtle variations in strike quality or die condition can create collectible varieties. Some collectors focus specifically on coins with particularly sharp details because they represent the highest quality examples from the minting process. Condition also plays a critical role in determining the value of any coin. Coins that have circulated for years typically show scratches, worn details, and dull surfaces. These coins are usually worth only their face value or slightly more. However, coins preserved in uncirculated condition can be far more valuable. A mint state 1965 quarter with bright surfaces and minimal marks can sell for many dollars even without errors. When such coins are graded by professional services and receive very high grades, their value can increase dramatically. Some collectors seek coins with the original luster still visible on the surface. This luster appears as a soft shimmering effect when the coin is tilted under light. It results from microscopic flow lines created when metal moves across the die during striking. Another interesting factor affecting the value of 1965 quarters is the possibility of coins struck on the wrong metal. Occasionally a planchet intended for another denomination enters the quarter press by mistake. When struck, the coin may appear smaller, larger, or lighter than normal depending on the metal used. Wrong planchet errors are extremely rare and highly prized. For example, a quarter struck on a nickel planchet would appear noticeably smaller and lighter than a standard quarter. Such coins can command very high prices among collectors. The historical context of the 1965 quarter adds to its significance. It represents the moment when the United States abandoned silver in most of its circulating coinage. For collectors, this change marks the end of an era that lasted more than a century. Many people still remember the transition period during the mid-1960s when both silver and clad coins circulated side by side. Older silver quarters slowly disappeared as people saved them or sold them for their metal value. Over time, the clad coins became the standard form of American currency. Despite the massive production of 1965 quarters, the excitement of finding a rare example continues to motivate collectors. Coin roll hunters often obtain rolls of quarters from banks and examine each coin carefully. Although the chances of finding a valuable error are small, the possibility keeps the hobby exciting. The appeal of coin collecting lies partly in the idea that valuable discoveries can occur in ordinary places. A rare coin might appear in pocket change, a jar of old coins, or a forgotten collection passed down through generations. Stories of unexpected discoveries have inspired countless people to examine their coins more closely. The 1965 Washington quarter serves as a reminder that history often hides in plain sight. Millions of these coins pass through everyday transactions without attracting attention. Yet among them a small number carry unusual characteristics that make them stand out. For collectors, each coin tells a story about the era in which it was produced. The 1965 quarter reflects a time of economic change, technological adaptation, and evolving monetary policy. It represents the moment when the United States responded to rising silver prices by reinventing its coinage system. The coin also symbolizes the enduring popularity of the Washington quarter design. For decades, this design remained a familiar part of American life, appearing in countless pockets, purses, and cash registers. Generations of Americans handled these coins without realizing the historical shift they represented. Today, the search for valuable coins continues to captivate collectors around the world. The 1965 quarter may appear ordinary at first glance, yet its history and potential errors make it an object of ongoing fascination. A coin worth only 25 cents could in rare circumstances become a valuable collectible worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. This transformation depends on subtle details created during the minting process decades ago. Because of this possibility, many collectors believe every coin deserves a second look. The next time a quarter passes through your hands, it might carry a hidden story etched into its metal surface. Within that small circle of copper and nickel could lie a rare mint error, an unusual strike, or even a transitional silver piece from a pivotal moment in American coinage history. The discovery of such a coin would turn an everyday object into a remarkable piece of numismatic history. And somewhere among the countless quarters still circulating today, another extraordinary example may still be waiting to be found, quietly traveling from one hand to another, its true value hidden in plain sight. My great viewers, once again imagine finding a single quarter in your pocket that most people would ignore without a second thought. It looks ordinary, the same silver-colored coin millions of people use every day. The ridged edge feels familiar, the portrait of George Washington seems like every other quarter you have seen, and the number 25 cents suggests it is only worth exactly that. Yet in the world of coin collecting, a coin like this can sometimes hold a hidden story and a surprising value. Among the billions of coins produced in the United States, a few stand out because something unusual happened during their creation. Small minting mistakes, unusual metal issues, or rare conditions can transform an everyday coin into a collectible worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. One coin that has quietly attracted attention among collectors is the 1988 P. Washington quarter, a coin that may appear common but can become valuable when certain rare characteristics are present. The story of the 1988 P quarter begins with the long history of the Washington quarter design itself. The United States first introduced this design in 1932 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington. At that time the country decided to honor its first president with a new coin that would replace the earlier standing Liberty quarter design. Sculptor John Flanagan created the portrait of Washington that would appear on the front of the coin, showing the president facing left in a calm and dignified profile. On the front of the quarter the word Liberty appears above Washington's head. To the left of his portrait the motto "In God We Trust" is displayed, and the year of the coin's production is written below. This simple yet powerful design has remained one of the most recognizable images in American coinage for generations. The reverse side of the coin features an eagle with wings spread wide, holding arrows in its talons while olive branches appear below. The eagle represents strength and readiness to defend the nation, while the olive branches symbolize peace. Around the eagle appear the words United States of America and the denomination quarter dollar. Above the eagle is the phrase E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. Although the design remained largely unchanged for decades, the materials used to create the quarter underwent a major transformation during the mid-20th century. Before 1965 American quarters were made primarily of silver. Each coin contained 90% silver and 10% copper, giving it a distinctive shine and significant intrinsic value. However, by the early 1960s the market price of silver began rising dramatically. The metal contained in each coin was approaching the value of the coin's face value. This caused people to begin hoarding silver coins rather than spending them. Many individuals saved their coins or melted them for their metal value, which created a serious shortage of coins in everyday circulation. To solve this problem, the United States government passed the Coinage Act of 1965. This legislation removed silver from circulating quarters and replaced it with a new composition called clad coinage. Instead of solid silver, the new coins were made with a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper and nickel. The outer layers consisted of 75% copper and 25% nickel, while the inner core remained pure copper. The new clad coins looked similar to the older silver coins but were far less expensive to produce. The 1988 P quarter belongs entirely to this clad era of American coinage. The letter P on the coin indicates that it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. For many years coins from Philadelphia did not include a mint mark, but beginning in 1980 the mint began adding the P mark to its quarters. This small letter appears on the front of the coin just to the right of Washington's portrait near the base of the neck. In 1988 the Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous number of quarters. More than 489 million 1988 P quarters were struck and released into circulation. Because of this large mintage, most examples are extremely common and usually worth only their face value of 25 cents when found in worn condition. However, the story becomes far more interesting when collectors begin examining these coins more closely. In the world of numismatics, even a common coin can become valuable if it displays unusual characteristics. These characteristics often arise from minting errors, mechanical issues during production, or rare conditions that occurred at the mint. The process of creating coins involves powerful machinery that strikes blank metal discs called planchets between engraved steel dies. Each strike of the press imprints the design onto the metal surface with tremendous pressure. The entire process occurs very quickly, with machines capable of producing hundreds of coins per minute. With such speed and mechanical complexity, small mistakes can occasionally occur. When these mistakes happen, the resulting coins may display unusual features that collectors find fascinating. Because these errors are rare and often visually striking, they can greatly increase a coin's value. One of the most dramatic errors that can appear on a 1988 P quarter is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet is not positioned perfectly within the striking chamber. When the dies come together to stamp the coin, part of the design is pushed toward one side while the other side remains blank. The result is a coin with a curved empty space where the design should have been. Off-center errors can vary widely in severity. A coin that is struck slightly off-center might show only a small blank area, while a more dramatic example might have a large portion of its design missing. Collectors often value these coins based on how much of the design is off-center and whether the date remains visible. A coin that is struck about 20% off-center may sell for several dozen dollars, while more extreme examples showing 50% off-center with a visible date can reach hundreds of dollars. Another fascinating error type is known as a broad strike. Normally when a coin is struck it is held in place by a metal collar that forms the coin's round shape and creates the ridged edge. If this collar fails to engage properly during the strike, the metal of the coin can spread outward. A broad-struck coin therefore appears slightly larger than normal and may have a flattened or incomplete edge. The absence of the normal ridges makes the error easy to notice. Broad strike errors on modern quarters like the 1988p can sometimes sell for $50 or more depending on their condition. Clipped planchet errors represent another type of minting mistake that collectors enjoy finding. During the process of cutting planchets from large metal sheets, circular punches stamp out the blanks that will become coins. If the metal sheet shifts slightly during this process, the punch may overlap an area that was already cut. This produces a blank with a curved piece missing from its edge. When the blank is later struck by the coin press, the finished coin retains that missing section. The result looks as though someone has taken a small bite from the coin. Clipped planchet coins are popular among collectors because the error is easy to see without magnification. Depending on the size of the missing section and the condition of the coin, clipped 1988p quarters can bring values ranging from $20 to well over $100. Another category of mint error involves die cracks. The dies used to strike coins are made of hardened steel, but they are subjected to tremendous pressure during production. Over time these dies can develop tiny cracks. When metal flows into these cracks during the striking process, raised lines appear on the surface of the coin. Small die cracks are fairly common and may add only a modest premium to the coin's value. However, larger cracks that run across significant portions of the design can make the coin far more interesting to collectors. A more dramatic form of die damage is called a cut error. This occurs when a piece of the die breaks off completely near the edge. When the coin is struck, metal flows into the missing area of the die and creates a raised lump on the edge of the coin. Cut errors are highly visible and can make a coin look quite unusual. Large examples on Washington quarters have been known to sell for hundreds of dollars depending on their size and location. Another intriguing error sometimes seen on modern quarters is the missing clad layer. Because the coin is composed of multiple layers of metal, occasionally one of the outer layers fails to bond properly with the copper core. When this happens, the coin may appear partly copper-colored on one side where the outer nickel layer is missing. These coins are noticeably different from ordinary quarters and can attract strong interest from collectors. Wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most valuable mistakes in coin production. These occur when a blank intended for another denomination accidentally enters the quarter striking press. For example, a dime blank or even a nickel blank could be struck with the quarter design. Because the blank is the wrong size or metal composition, the resulting coin appears unusual. It might be smaller than normal or show incomplete parts of the design. These errors are extremely rare and can sell for thousands of dollars depending on the specific circumstances. Double strike errors also occur occasionally. In this situation, a coin receives more than one strike from the dies. The second strike may be slightly rotated or offset from the first, creating overlapping images on the coin's surface. These coins are visually striking and can be quite valuable if the doubling effect is dramatic. Collectors also search for double die varieties. Unlike double strikes, double dies originate during the creation of the die itself rather than during the coin striking process. When the die receives multiple impressions from the master hub at slightly different angles, the resulting die contains doubled design elements. Coins struck from this die will show doubled letters or numbers. On a Washington quarter, this doubling may appear in the lettering of Liberty or In God We Trust. Depending on the clarity of the doubling, such coins can sell for significant premiums. Another possible variety involves rotated dies. Normally the front and back of a coin are aligned in a standard orientation. If one die rotates slightly during production, the reverse side of the coin may appear misaligned when the coin is flipped vertically. Collectors test this by holding the coin upright and flipping it from top to bottom. If the reverse image appears rotated instead of upright, the coin may have a rotated die error. The more dramatic the rotation, the more desirable the coin becomes. Condition plays a critical role in determining the value of a 1988p quarter. Coins that have circulated heavily often show worn details and numerous scratches. These coins usually remain worth only their face value. However, coins preserved in uncirculated condition can be worth far more. In coin grading terminology, mint state coins are assigned grades based on their surface quality and strike sharpness. A coin graded MS-65 may sell for several dollars, while extremely high-grade coins can be worth much more. Top-quality examples graded MS-67 or higher are extremely rare because most coins from this year entered circulation quickly. A pristine 1988p quarter with nearly perfect surfaces may sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars in the collector market. The search for valuable coins often takes place in ordinary places such as bank rolls, coin jars, and pocket change. Many collectors enjoy the process of examining coins one by one in hopes of finding an unusual example. This practice is often called coin roll hunting. Collectors obtain rolls of coins from banks and carefully inspect each piece using magnifying tools. Although the chances of finding a rare error are small, the possibility of discovery keeps the hobby exciting. The appeal of coin collecting lies partly in the idea that hidden treasures may still exist in everyday circulation. A coin produced decades ago might pass through thousands of hands before someone finally notices its unusual features. The 1988 P. Washington quarter represents a moment in American coinage history when the classic eagle reverse was still in use. Just over a decade later, the United States would introduce the State Quarters program, which replaced the eagle design with unique images representing each state. Because of this change, earlier quarters like the 1988 P became part of the final era of the traditional Washington design that had existed since 1932. For collectors and historians alike, each coin carries a story about the time in which it was created. The metal composition, design, and production methods all reflect the technological and economic conditions of that era. Even though the 1988 P quarter was produced in enormous numbers, a small fraction of those coins possess unusual characteristics that make them valuable collectibles. These rare examples remind collectors that the smallest details can sometimes transform an ordinary object into something remarkable. A coin originally intended to represent just 25 cents can become worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars because of a tiny mechanical mistake made decades ago inside a minting press. This possibility continues to inspire collectors to examine their coins carefully. Somewhere among the countless quarters still circulating today, another rare example may be waiting quietly to be discovered. The next time you receive a quarter in change, it might be worth taking a closer look. The familiar portrait of Washington could be hiding an unexpected story, a rare mint error, or a condition so pristine that the coin becomes far more valuable than its humble face value suggests. My dear history lovers, if we, reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple quarter that looks just like every other coin in circulation. It has the familiar portrait of George Washington, a ridged edge, and the number 25 cents stamped clearly on its surface. Most people would barely glance at it before spending it on a snack, a bus ride, or dropping it into a jar of loose change. But what if that ordinary-looking coin turned out to be worth hundreds, thousands, or even several $1,000s? Hidden among billions of common coins are rare examples that became valuable because of small minting mistakes, unusual characteristics, or extraordinary preservation. One such coin that continues to capture the attention of collectors is the 1990 P. Washington quarter, a coin that might appear ordinary at first glance but can become surprisingly valuable under the right circumstances. The 1990 P. quarter belongs to the long-running Washington quarter series, a design that has been part of American coinage for generations. The series began in 1932 when the United States government decided to honor George Washington on the 200th anniversary of his birth. The sculptor John Flanagan was chosen to design the coin, and his portrait of Washington facing left became one of the most recognizable images in American currency. On the front of the coin appears the word liberty across the top, the phrase "In God We Trust" to the left of Washington's neck, and the year of minting below the portrait. On the reverse side, the coin features a powerful eagle with wings spread wide. The eagle holds arrows in its talons while olive branches appear beneath, symbolizing both strength and peace. Around the eagle are the words United States of America and the denomination $quarter. By 1990 the Washington quarter had already been circulating for nearly 6 decades. During that time the coin had experienced a major change in composition. Before 1965 American quarters were made primarily of silver, containing 90% silver and 10% copper. However, rising silver prices during the early 1960s forced the government to change the metal content of circulating coins. Beginning in 1965 the United States Mint replaced silver quarters with clad coins made from copper and nickel. The outer layers consisted of 75% copper and 25% nickel, while the inner core was pure copper. This new composition allowed the mint to produce coins at lower cost while maintaining a similar appearance to the earlier silver pieces. The 1990 P quarter therefore belongs to the modern clad era of American coinage. These coins contain no precious metals, meaning their melt value is extremely small. The metal content of a modern quarter is worth only a few cents, far below its face value. Despite this modest intrinsic value, the numismatic value of certain coins can become much higher depending on rarity, condition, and unusual mint errors. The 1990 P quarter is a perfect example of how a coin produced in enormous numbers can still hold the possibility of surprising worth. the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 613,792,000 quarters bearing the 1990 date and the P-Mint mark. Because so many were struck, most examples remain extremely common. A typical circulated coin showing normal wear is worth exactly its face value of 25 cents. However, collectors evaluate coins using a detailed grading system that measures how well a coin has been preserved. Coins that circulated for years may show scratches, worn details, and dull surfaces. These coins generally carry no collector premium. Uncirculated coins that never experienced heavy use are far more valuable. When a 1990 P quarter survives in excellent mint state condition with sharp details and bright surfaces, its value can increase dramatically. Some uncirculated examples graded MS-65 may sell for around $12 to $18, while extremely high-grade pieces can reach hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In fact, a top-quality 1990 P quarter graded at the exceptional MS-67 level has been valued at more than $1,000 because coins in such pristine condition are extremely rare. Condition alone can therefore transform a common quarter into a collectible item. But the real excitement for coin hunters comes from mint errors and unusual varieties that occurred during the production process. Coins are created using powerful presses that strike blank metal discs called planchets between two engraved dies. Each strike occurs with tremendous pressure and speed. When everything functions perfectly, the result is a flawless coin. But occasionally something goes wrong during this complex process. These mistakes are known as mint errors. Because they occur unintentionally and often affect only a small number of coins, collectors value them highly. Collectors also search for doubling in the lettering or design elements of coins. This occurs when the die that strikes the coin contains slightly doubled impressions from the hubbing process. On a 1990, one of the most noticeable errors that can appear on a 1990 P quarter is the off-center strike. This happens when the planchet is not positioned correctly between the dies when the coin is struck. Instead of the design appearing perfectly centered, part of the image shifts toward one side. The result is a coin with a blank curved area where the design failed to appear. The amount of missing design determines the value. A coin struck 5 to 10% off center may sell for $15 to $30, while more dramatic errors showing 20 to 40% off center can bring $40 to $100. If the coin is struck 50% off center but still shows the full date, collectors may pay as much as $800 to $1,500 for such a dramatic example. Another fascinating error is the broad strike. Normally, coins are struck within a metal collar that shapes the edge and creates the ridged pattern known as reeding. If this collar fails to hold the planchet in place, the metal spreads outward during the strike. Broad-struck coins appear slightly larger than normal quarters and lack the standard edge definition. Because the error is easy to see with the naked eye, collectors find these coins particularly appealing. Depending on their condition and appearance, broad-strike 1990 quarters can sell for $65 to $200 or more. Another error type that collectors frequently search for is the clipped planchet. During the manufacturing process, large sheets of metal are punched with circular cutters that create coin blanks. If the metal strip shifts slightly or overlaps, the cutter may produce a planchet with a portion missing. When this incomplete blank is struck by the coin press, the resulting coin displays a curved section missing from its edge. These coins often look as though a bite has been taken from them. Depending on the size and shape of the clip, values may range from $15 to $90. Another intriguing possibility is the double-struck coin. This occurs when a coin remains inside the striking chamber after its first strike and receives another blow from the dies. The second strike may appear slightly rotated or shifted relative to the first. Double-struck coins can display overlapping designs, making them extremely distinctive. Such errors are relatively rare and can command high premiums among collectors who specialize in mint mistakes. Die-related errors are also common sources of collector interest. Coin dies are made from hardened steel, but they endure tremendous stress during production. Over time they can develop cracks or chips. When metal flows into these cracks during striking, raised lines appear on the finished coin. These are known as die cracks. Minor cracks may add only small premiums, but larger cracks that create dramatic visual effects can increase a coin's value. A more dramatic die failure is called a cud. This occurs when a piece of the die breaks away completely near the edge. When the coin is struck, metal fills the missing section of the die and produces a raised blob on the coin. Large cud errors can make a coin look very unusual. Some 1990 P quarters with significant cud errors have sold for hundreds of dollars depending on size and location. Another interesting type of error is the missing clad layer. Because modern quarters are composed of multiple layers of metal, occasionally one of the outer layers fails to bond properly to the copper core. When the coin is struck, one side may appear dull or copper-colored rather than the usual silver tone. Missing clad layer errors are quite striking visually and can sell for $80 to $250 depending on their condition. Perhaps the most dramatic mint errors occur when a coin is struck on the wrong planchet. In extremely rare cases, a blank intended for another denomination accidentally enters the quarter press. For example, a dime planchet might be struck with the quarter design. Because dime blanks are smaller and lighter, the resulting coin appears undersized with incomplete details around the edges. These wrong planchet errors are highly prized because they demonstrate a major breakdown in the minting process. Some examples of quarters struck on dime planchets have sold for thousands of dollars. A similar error coin from 1990 sold at auction for approximately $4,800. P-quarter doubling may appear in the words "I and God we trust" or in other parts of the design. Depending on how clear the doubling is, these coins can sell for over $100 or more. Another possibility is the rotated die error. Normally the front and back of a coin are aligned in a precise orientation. If one die rotates slightly during production, the alignment of the coin becomes unusual. Collectors check this by holding the coin upright and flipping it vertically. If the reverse image appears rotated relative to the obverse, the coin may have a rotated die error. The greater the rotation, the more desirable the coin becomes. Coins can also display lamination errors when the metal layers begin separating during production. These coins show peeling or flaking surfaces where the metal did not bond correctly. Lamination errors create unique textures that collectors often find fascinating. Because the United States Mint produces billions of coins each year, small numbers of errors are almost inevitable. Most are caught during inspection and removed before leaving the mint, but some escape into circulation. Once these coins enter everyday commerce, they may pass through thousands of hands before someone notices the unusual feature. Many collectors enjoy searching through rolls of coins from banks in hopes of finding these hidden treasures. The thrill of discovery is a major reason why coin collecting remains a popular hobby. Even modern coins like the 1990 P-quarter can hold unexpected surprises. Although most examples will remain worth only their face value, a tiny fraction may contain rare errors or exceptional preservation that makes them valuable collectibles. The story of the 1990 P-quarter also reflects the scale of modern coin production. More than 1.5 billion quarters were minted across different facilities in 1990, making it one of the most heavily produced years in the series. With such enormous numbers, the vast majority of coins entered circulation and experienced years of wear. For this reason, finding a perfectly preserved example in everyday change is extremely unlikely, though not impossible. Collectors who search for valuable coins often look carefully at the edges, lettering, and design details. Small clues such as unusual shapes, doubled letters, or irregular surfaces may reveal the presence of a mint error. Magnifying tools are often used to inspect coins closely. Even minor differences in the design can signal that a coin is special. Professional grading services also play an important role in the coin market. Companies such as PCGS and NGC examine coins, verify their authenticity, and assign a grade that reflects their condition. Coins that receive high grades from these services often sell for much higher prices because collectors trust the accuracy of the evaluation. For the 1990 P-quarter, the combination of condition and rarity determines the final value. A worn coin may remain worth only 25 cents, while a rare error or top-grade example could sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This dramatic difference between face value and collector value is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. A coin designed to represent a small amount of money can become a valuable artifact because of historical circumstances or manufacturing quirks. The Washington quarter design itself remained in use for many years after 1990. Eventually, the United States introduced the State Quarters program in 1999, which replaced the traditional eagle reverse with designs representing each state, but the earlier quarters from the classic series continue to circulate in everyday change. Many people still encounter them without realizing that some may hold unexpected value. The next time a quarter passes through your hands, it might be worth taking a moment to examine it more carefully. That simple coin could be a reminder of the history of American currency, the complexity of the minting process, and the possibility that hidden treasures sometimes appear in the most ordinary places. Somewhere among the countless quarters still moving through cash registers, coin jars, and pockets, there may be another unusual 1990 P example waiting quietly to be discovered. A small mistake made decades ago at the mint could transform a simple 25-cent coin into a fascinating piece of numismatic history worth far more than anyone expected.